Here we go with another question and answer session, and I got a lot of questions today, so hopefully this won't get too long. We are going to cover several things today with these questions that you guys have asked, and you seem to like doing this, so I'm going to continue to do it as long as you keep asking the questions. So keep putting questions in the comment section below. Today we're going to cover things like bear hunting around cornfields, wolves and bear baits, what's the best bear bait, some things about color phase and where you can find them. A lot of stuff to cover here, so let's get started. Here we go. Okay, so the first question that we have here is a really good question about beavers. And in some areas beavers can be used, in other areas you can't. You cannot use a whole beaver here in Minnesota. And the question here is that, is it better to use beaver caster or the whole beaver? I'm a beaver trapper and I can get the caster and beaver carcasses. And boy, my answer to that is it's pretty obvious. If you can use a beaver, use the beaver. You might want to take the casters out and sell them. The casters have quite a bit of value, probably more than the fur does even right now. But definitely, if you can get beavers, use them. I've written before, and you've heard me say before, beavers are like crack cocaine to bears, and they love the caster too. A beaver at a bait is a really, really good option. Now, here in Minnesota, for the first time last year, I tried boneless beaver because I had one of the hunters that hunted in my guiding service that brought 10 beavers that he had actually cut the bones and the skulls out of, and then wrapped the meat back up in fur, and we put those out on the bait, and wow, it really worked. And that's the only way you can legally do it. It's just super time consuming. I'm really grateful that he was willing to do that because it worked for us. And I already knew that bears like beaver, but I got to see it firsthand, probably the best that I ever have. We found out some important things. I predicted that when the bears got a hold of beaver, they would leave the site with it, and that was an understatement. When they got that beaver out of the barrel, they took off on a dead run every single time. They just wanted to leave the area with that beaver so no other bears would come and get it from them. So my advice is use the beaver, sell the caster if you want. It's not going to change it that much. But if with the fur prices being pretty poor nowadays, you know, use the whole beaver. If you want to skin it and sell the skin, then more power to you. Just use the carcass. But yes, absolutely, if you have access to beavers, put them at your baits. Question number 2 is about wolves. How will having wolves on a bear bait affect how the bears use the bait? Can wolves shut down a bear bait? And the answer to the second part of that question is absolutely. I have seen wolves shut down a bear bait. I've seen a pack of wolves that moved in and basically took over a bear bait. The bears just did not come back. When the wolves kept coming back and the bears did not. I've also seen other situations where some wolf activity has little effect on baits, but I will say that I've never seen a situation where having wolves come to the bait didn't affect the bait at all. It's always a negative that I've seen. Sometimes it's worse than others. I got places where wolves continually visit the baits, they mark their territory, and it slows down the bear activity. I have seen in person situations where wolves have chased bears off the bait. Wolves are one of the few predators that bears actually have, and wolves eat bears. They pull them out of their dens and eat them. They eat cubs whenever they can catch them. And I'm going to do an entire video on the relationship between bears and wolves here coming up over the next couple months. I just will give you more detail on that at that time. There have been times when I've actually got trail camera pictures of wolves and bears on the bait at the same time, but it's always a confrontational situation. It's never like, yeah, let's just eat together. It's always a situation where there's tension there. And so you know how much I value having bears being comfortable at the bait. And having wolves at your bait just lowers that comfort level. It makes it tough for the bears. So it's never a good thing to have wolves on the bait. I just don't know that you can completely get away from it. If you're in wolf country, the wolf population is extremely high here in Minnesota right now. It's the highest it's ever been in my lifetime. And I got wolves on a lot of baits, and the wolves will eat some of the same baits that the bears will, and so you can't completely get away from it, you just got to deal with it. What is your preferred bait? Trail mix or nuts, preferred type of nuts, pastries, and so forth. And basically you just named my preferred bait, and that is trail mix and pastries. Those are the two that I use the most. I do know that wolves like meat. I used to use a lot of beef scraps, but like I just mentioned about the wolves, that's just not an option anymore because it attracts way too many wolves. Now, I've really popularized trail mix with my articles in different magazines, Predator Extreme, Bear Hunting Magazine, and through this YouTube channel and through my seminars. The use of trail mix has exploded across many states, and it's difficult to get the right trail mix. So there's a lot of bait sellers out there that are selling things they call trail mix, and it's not really trail mix because it's got cookies and pretzels and things like that in it. The best trail mix, if you can get it, it's basically got your nuts like your cashews and your almonds and stuff like that. It's got some peanuts. If it's got some dried fruits in it, that's even better. It's got probably some M&Ms. Now in Michigan and New Hampshire, you can't use trail mix with M&Ms in it because the chocolate's not allowed, so you got to be careful there. But look for those types of things that have a mixture of sweet things like those dried fruits, and maybe, I had some this year that had yogurt covered raisins, and the bears just absolutely loved that, and that was mixed in with the nuts and stuff like that. And the second thing is pastries. Pastries are one of the best baits for filling those bears up and gives them the sweets they want. It's super high in carbohydrates, and they'll fill their guts up and just go lay up nearby, so when they're hungry again, they're right close to the bait, and that's what I like about pastries. So if you can get a lot of pastries, I do use a lot of them, especially early. You got to be careful because you can over sugar the bears, and so if you're giving them just sweets, you can tend to lose them because they'll go look for other things when they get too much sugar. So I do tend to cut back on pastries a little bit. The season and the baiting season wears on. Here's a question from a different person. How do you get your bakery items? I've been shut out of my old stops, and I can't even find new places here in Minnesota. I'm trying to recruit places to give me pastries, but they're donating them to the food shelves. Here's what happened, and I don't know if it's just Minnesota, but I know it's in Minnesota. It might be other states. I think it was a state law here about 3-4 years ago that changed. It either allowed grocery stores to donate their outdated breads and pastries to the food pantries, or maybe it incentivized them, maybe a tax incentive. I don't know exactly what caused this change, but these grocery stores and bakeries just started donating all their leftover stuff to the food pantries, which is a good thing because they're feeding needy people, but it's more difficult than ever to get these pastries. And the way that I've been able to get pastries is I've got a couple grocery stores that actually have one case where they put fresh donuts out, pastries, all the different kinds of pastries. They put it out at like 5 o'clock every morning, and whatever's there when they go put the new stuff out, they dump in a garbage bag and they sell it to me. And sometimes that bag might only have 2 dozen, other times it might be half full, and I'm paying $3 a bag for it. The problem is I got to go drive to the store and get it every morning first thing. It takes a lot of those bags to feed very many bears, but that's one option. I've also found that these food pantries, they're often not able to give everything away before it starts to get moldy or go bad. So the stores are giving it to the food pantries on the date that it expires, and then you usually got 3-4 days before it starts to really go bad. And if they can't give it all away, they're throwing it in a dumpster. So if you can go talk to a food pantry and ask them, don't throw that stuff in a dumpster, I'll take it. You're going to get a lot of breads and things like that aren't as good as the sweets, like the pastries with the frostings, buns and things like that. There's just a lot of muffins. There's just a lot of different things mixed in with this usually. You can use some of the super sweet cherry burst and they got different color or flavors of bursts. I love the super sweet cherry burst from Northwoods Bear Products. You put that on stale bread and it's just about the same as having pastries. You can also dump used fryer oil on it. I've done that a lot. So yeah, it's gotten tougher. I wish I had an easy, quick answer for you to solve the problem, but it just has become tougher and probably won't change anytime soon. Okay, question number 5. I watched a video on the pattern, and my question is, what if the bear hits at night for the first time? You say hang and hunt immediately. What should you do in a situation like that? Should you wait until you get a daytime picture? Okay, if you haven't watched this video, it's a real kind of a groundbreaking video for when you first put baits out. If you're putting baits out during the hunting season, or if you're traveling to somewhere else to bait and hunt. This video that I put out called The Pattern, and you need to search for it and watch it on this channel if you haven't already. It is really groundbreaking, and it will really, really help you kill a bear right away if you have a bear hit the bait. So the gist of the pattern is that when you have a bear find the bait, he hits it regularly for the first couple days, like every 6 to 8 hours. So this question that he's asking is, what if he hits it at night? And so my answer to that is, don't wait until he hits it during the day. If you come in the morning and find out that he hit it during the night, remember he's going to hit every 6 to 8 hours. So go ahead and hang and hunt right then. But you'll understand this better if you've watched that video, or go back and find it on this channel, do a search for The Pattern and watch that video. Do you feel like you can get bear pulled out of cornfields and into your bait? Our bait stations seem to get a lot more active after these cornfields are harvested. So this is a question that there's probably people who know the answer better than I do, because I haven't hunted around cornfields that much, but I'm just going to give you the basics of what I do know, and that's this. Corn can be a bear's primary food source for about 6 weeks or so, from August into September, especially when the corn is in the milk stage where it's juicy. And think of sweet corn, the time that you want to pick sweet corn and eat it, that's the time when field corn is most palatable to the bears. And they will forsake everything else at times to eat that corn. Now you can put bear baits right by the cornfield, maybe where they're going in and out, and have a chance at them. You might find out that they're not going in and out very much, but they're pretty much staying in the cornfield all the time. But then as time goes on, the corn hardens up and it becomes a little bit less palatable. They'll continue to eat it. They'll actually eat corn until it's harvested, but there's a balance where your bait becomes more attractive than the corn. And so really, just kind of wait it out, and then after the corn is harvested, if you know right where they've been feeding and you've got a bait there, then they know where the bait is, and you got a much better chance of killing them as soon as that corn comes out of the field. Is there a place on the internet where we can go and watch the bear movements of the collared bears? And the answer to that is no, and you've seen me show you a lot of information about bears that have GPS collars and their movements, and I've been provided that by the DNR, but they will not provide that information until the bears are dead. They won't provide you with live bears collared GPS information, and that just makes sense because you could figure out where those bears are going, where they're feeding, and you could shoot their collared bears much easier. So there's nothing online where you can just go watch it. You have to request it from the DNR. It's a process. It's going to help you learn more about bear behavior, but it's not going to help you shoot that individual bear. Okay, number 8, you've harvested a lot of bears over the years. What would you say your color phase breakdown is? Mostly black or an even mix of color phase? My breakdown, I think I can tell you right off the top of my head. So I have killed, I believe, 39 bears, and I might be off by one. It might actually be 40 because I kind of lost track a few years ago for a little bit, but I think I got it nailed down. Out of my 39 bears, I've got 1 blonde, 1 cinnamon, and I think 5 chocolates, and the rest of them were black. That's the breakdown. I would like to upgrade my cinnamon. The cinnamon that I shot is a beautiful bear, a really, really cool pelt, unique, but it was very small bear, 130-pound bear. So I'd like to upgrade that at some point, and I would always like to have a chance to shoot another blonde or something like that. I do like kind of shooting color phase bears, so it's just another challenge that kind of turns my crank. Where can I find a list of who's got the Color Phase Grand Slam? I'm one blonde away from my own Grand Slam. So as far as I know, there is not a list like that. Somebody should do a list. Somebody should put together an organization or record keeping of some sort so people can be recognized, maybe get a certificate when you kill the Color Phase or when you kill the Grand Slam. There's people that have talked about doing it over the years. I've never really seen anything come out of it. It looked like it was really going to succeed, but I would like to see something like that. You could, a separation between people that have killed Color Phase Grand Slam with a bow versus a firearm or whatever. It would just be cool to have some sort of a record of that. I don't know the best organization to do it, or if somebody should start one or what, but I really would like to see that. And I think there's quite a few people out there that would be interested, and it's good for the sport of bear hunting too. Okay, is there any particular way to get one Color Phase over another? So really the only answer to that is basically you have to go where they live. And there's certain areas, particularly in the western U.S. and Canada, where there are higher populations of Color Phase bears. And if you want to shoot a Color Phase bear, then you got to go there. You know, I shot my blonde bear up in northern Saskatchewan with Big Spruce Outfitting, and he had a lot of blonde bears up there. Was the best place probably at that time that I felt like I could go and have a chance to shoot a blonde bear. In the Duck Mountains of Manitoba, where I hunt a lot, as you know, if you watched some of my hunts, they have a pretty high percentage of Color Phase bears. Lots of Color Phase bears in Saskatchewan and Alberta and the mountain states. There's parts of Nevada and Idaho that actually have more bears that are not black than that are black. That's where you got to do is you just have to pick a spot where you have the best chance of seeing a Color Phase bear to shoot. Keep these questions coming. That's the final question for today. I know this got kind of long. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave comments below if you would, and continue to ask questions. If you like doing this, I mean, I'll keep doing it, and I don't mind telling you that I'm doing the best I can to provide correct and insightful answers, and sometimes I don't know the answer, and typically when I get a communication from someone who asks me a question that I don't feel like I really know the answer, I just tell them that rather than, put it in one of these videos. But really appreciate you being a part of this channel and watching all this, and good luck in your bear hunting, and we'll see you in the next video.